lamas who seem to have run amok, right, in their behavior. And there's a lama that here who you look at him and you say he's really abusing his students. He's really treating his students badly. He's just after the money. He's getting money from his students all the time. He has them work and build buildings, and he sells the buildings to make more money. And these people are crazy. Like, what are they doing following this guy and giving him all their money and working nonstop for him, right? And why don't they wake up? So this went on for years and eventually died. And the students thought he was wonderful. They thought he was an amazing, fantastic teacher. And it was a very strange thing because the students turned out wonderfully, and that's really how it works. It's not about the teacher. If we have enough virtue, you'll meet a teacher, and then the tests will come, and then you'll pass them and you'll become enlightened. The person could be a schmuck, The person who's the teacher could be an absolute schmuck, which is, the teacher is not the point. The point is our minds and our attitude and our positioning, right? Because that's what we're working to develop. We're working to constantly look for our own goodness and develop our own goodness, right? And we're looking to constantly find and clean our own negativity, right? After we made a commitment to a teacher in our mind, after checking them out properly, if they tell you to build a 9-story building and then they tear it down, you have to keep that same view of, they're training me and they're developing me and they're teaching me things that I have to know. And they can challenge you with extraordinary behaviors that may seem immoral, and they may be trying to just see if you have the brains to lead them, and that's not uncommon. They want you to do the right thing. There's a very famous story of a lama who had 5 students, and he told them, I need money. I want you to go rob this village and come back and bring me all the money. And 4 of them went off and went to the village, and one said, you're my holy teacher, and I don't think that's what you really want. And you certainly never taught anything like that as proper behavior, and I don't think it's appropriate, and I don't think you really want me to do it, and I'm not going to do it. Right? And then the other 4 came back with the money they'd stolen from the villagers, and the teacher said, I only have 1 real student. The rest aren't thinking. They're not behaving properly. So, there's a constant evaluation that's necessary. It always boils down to doing the right thing. It always boils down to following your principles, right? It's not just blindly do what a teacher says because they say it, right? They may be challenging you to see if you have the brains to say no, and ultimately you have to do what you know to be right. So, this idea of the teacher, you can see your teacher doing any number of things that you don't like. And it would be completely appropriate and completely right to say, with all due respect, dear holy teacher, what I see is contrary to the teachings, the things you've taught, and it doesn't make sense to me, and I'm wondering why you're doing it, and can you explain it to me, please? Or could you stop doing it, please? Or whatever the case might be, you see? So there's this is an extensive subject that we don't really have time to get into so much tonight, but it's a very delicate and profound teaching which says we are training our mind, right? Our spiritual work is about training our mind and our behavior and our thought process, right? You want to pick someone to do that with, who, for all outer purposes and all outer intentions, is aligned with that and is well qualified to do that and is well positioned to do that, all right? And if in 5 years they look like a schmuck, you keep working and you keep practicing and you keep training your mind, right? Because it's not about that; it's about your mind. And if after 10 years, they die, your mind should be much cleaner and much purer and much more highly evolved. So that whole process of finding and checking out the teacher and then behaving appropriately towards them is the first step of the long run. And it in no way involves blind faith or blind trust or anything else. It involves a clear understanding of ethics and karma and emptiness, which says, you know what? Life is about ethics, life is about virtue, You know, I have to be that way as consistently as possible. And, you know, here I am with a blank screen in front of me. You know, I'm projecting a holy, virtuous teacher. And if I had better karma, I'd be seeing an even purer teacher. And if I had worse karma, I'd see a less pure teacher. And so the only thing for me to do is to use this blank screen in front of me, you know, this empty object in front of me, to collect the karma that I need to have holy beings around me and to be a holy being myself. And so by engaging this empty object, this blank screen, this teacher, I'm going to collect the karma that I need to collect to see myself as pure and to see the people around me as pure. And that's what high spiritual practice is. And so, you know, here we are in the review courses, and it's very appropriate and important to talk about it. But one has to be extremely well trained in ethics and karma and emptiness to really, truly be able to relate to a teacher properly, to truly be able to engage a teacher properly. Because if you believe that the teacher is a schmuck from their own side, they're doing something wrong, doing something bad from their own side, then you're not collecting the right karma in relationship to them. You know, you're just seeing another self-existent person, you know, with self-existent afflictions, and you're having a self-existent conversation, saying I'm right and you're wrong. You know, you're not practicing, you know, with karma and emptiness and ethics. You're not saying, I understand that I'm perceiving reality according to the karma I've collected in the past. I understand I could be perceiving you as an enlightened being right now if I had collected that karma in the past. I understand I collected lousy karma or mixed karma in the past, and therefore I'm seeing you as a mixed or as a lousy teacher. You know, I'm not going to relate to you as a mixed or lousy teacher. I'm going to relate to you as an empty object or a blank screen that I'm projecting onto. And therefore, I will treat you as totally pure and totally holy so that I can collect that karma, so that I can have that valid perception in the future. So, you know, that's the nut of the Lama thing, right? So, so that's how you have to think about your Lama, right? And in terms of how you act towards a Lama, you know, the relationship starts very basic, as a very basic thing, you know. You meet someone, you go to class, you show up to class, you take it in, and you sit there, you know, and that's just kind of, that's about it. And then you know, you progress to the next level where you think, okay, you know, maybe I'll bring a flower, maybe I'll bring some snacks, maybe I'll make a little bit of effort, you know. You know, maybe I'll stay 5 minutes afterwards and help clean up, but not 10, you know. And then, you know, you progress a little more and you say, okay, maybe I'll go in on Saturday and help out there, or, you know, or do a little something to help, and then, you know, you progress, and then you're willing to do substantially more, where you do a big project, or you know, organize a teaching, or something like that. And as you evolve in your relationship with your teacher, you get to a point where their needs and your needs are not really distinguishable. You know, if they need to get to California for teaching, then you make sure it happens. You know, if something needs to be organized, you make sure it happens. They don't have to worry about whether a space is rented or whether it's going to be a lovely setting or anything else. And there's just this gratitude that they're teaching holy topics, and in some sort of sense of appreciation of being able to facilitate that and make that happen, right? So, and Holy Geshe Michael had said many times he'd never been asked for money in his 25 years of, 30 years of, you know, of being a monk or being a student or being a teacher. No Lama had ever asked him for money, you know. And by the same token, you know, he's showered them with money and they've thrown it back and said they don't need it, you know. It's not about that. At a certain point, it has to be, you have to get to a certain point where you're one with them. Their needs and your needs are the same, and everything you do is in service of them. But you have to find someone that fits you, and then through that relationship, you can get enlightened in one lifetime. So slowly, you become their helpmate, and then you help them in a major way, taking the load off of them. And you're doing it because you recognize what they're doing is helping tremendous numbers of people and benefiting tremendous numbers of people, right? Sooner or later, the relationship has to escalate so that you know, it's really a full commitment and a full relationship of service. You know, different lamas fit different people. You have to find the one that fits your personality. and you have to think about them in a certain way after you check them out. So, and you have to act towards them in a certain way, and you have to think towards them in a certain way. From their side, they don't need it. It's important to understand from their side, if they're a high spiritual being, they don't need anything that you can offer to them. They'd be quite happy to just not have you hanging around. I mean, for them, it's just like having another child, right? They can go sit somewhere and be happy. It's just one more problem in their life and one more child to take care of in their life, right? So it's kind of having an attitude that it's an honor to be asked to do something for a teacher, to spend your life and your time to stay up late helping other people, and so it's important to see it that way. It's like a Lama teacher spends their time working to help others in loving kindness, and so it's an honor to join in that effort and to serve that effort and help that effort. The ancient Sanskrit word for student is one who tires themselves out trying to help their teacher, right? So I mean, that's the actual meaning of being a student, is you tire yourself out serving your teacher and helping your teacher. So it's easy to think of it as a hassle or a burden when a spiritual teacher asks us to do something, but it's actually an honor. And so once we're able to commit ourselves in that way, then incredible karmic seeds are collected and things start to happen. People ask, if I want to see emptiness, should I meditate on, Arya Nagarjuna or Master Chandrakirti, or what should I meditate on? And frankly, the most powerful thing one can do to see emptiness is to serve a teacher. So that's the best way to perceive emptiness, to collect the karma to see emptiness, is to serve a spiritual teacher. And find the one that's right for you. So that's the first step of the Lam Rim. You have to find a teacher. You have to develop faith and admiration for them. You have to think about them properly. You have to act properly towards them, and you have to develop reverence for them. Okay. So some kind of love or affection, feeling some kind of love or affection towards them, I guess you would say, devotion, and it's a very important sign of spiritual progress when you feel some kind of deep devotion towards a spiritual teacher. You feel like they're the most precious being in your world, and it's not an ordinary relationship. It's very interesting when you meet someone who you really feel like is your spiritual teacher. There's a sense of this is something which has been going on for a very long time, eons, lifetimes, a vast arc of time, and they've been setting this up for hundreds of years, hundreds of lifetimes. And that what you're coming to now is not something which has just happened by chance. Causes have been collected over many lifetimes and many years, and you have to think that they've known about you and they've been watching over you and preparing for you and waiting for you over many lifetimes, and that it's a relationship which has lasted a very long time and will continue to last a very long time, for infinite time, right? So it's very important to think like that. Okay. I want to make sure I cover everything in homework because there's a lot of material. I think there are various steps to the Lam Rim, and I'm not going to go through them because I feel like this material on the relationship with the teacher is important material to cover. You asked for examples of my experience or my relationship with the teacher. I think what I would say to that is the most important thing for me has been how I think about the teacher. I've been working in close service with a teacher for years at a time, and I've been working remotely with a teacher, not working in close service with a teacher. Holy Ken Rinpoche, who was one of my teachers who passed, I don't know, 10 years ago perhaps, I don't know when it was. It's still a certain way of thinking of him. It's a certain way of relating to him, which is not ordinary. And that's really what we're talking about. Most of our relationships in our lives are ordinary. It's, really all we have are ordinary relationships. Limited people with afflictions of limited capacity, with different levels of satisfaction and disappointment, right? As ordinary human relations. And the point here, I think, that must be made is that this is not meant to be thought of as an ordinary relationship. This is meant to be thought of as an extraordinary relationship, as a relationship which is not an ordinary human relationship. This is a spiritual relationship. This is a relationship with a holy being. And so, if one is not able to think of anyone as a holy being, if one is not able to relate to anyone as a holy being, then that is a reflection of our mind and where we are in our life. Period. You know, I just can't do it. I can't feel that anybody's holy. I can't think that anybody's holy. I can't even pretend that anybody's holy. It's a reflection on us, you know. And a big part of our spiritual training and a big part of our spiritual path, I won't even say it that way, I'll say it a different way. The entirety of our spiritual path and the entirety of our spiritual training is about how we think, you know. First line, or chapter, Abhidharma Kosha, karma is the movement of the mind and what follows. Everything is about collecting karma. Karma is simply the movement of the mind, the shifting of the mind, and the thoughts that arise. Right? The root of everything we do is our thoughts. Everything follows from our thoughts. We must train ourselves to think pure, virtuous thoughts. And if we can't call up or generate virtuous thoughts or pure thoughts or holy thoughts, it's a problem. You know, whether we have a problem thinking holy, virtuous things about ourselves or another person, it's much of a muchness, you know. I mean, pick your person, whether it's going to be you or a spiritual teacher or whatever the case might be, all right? Our job is to train our mind to be virtuous and pure and holy. And you have to start somewhere. And the point is pick your best option. Pick the person in your life and in your world who is best suited to do that, who is the closest match and who is the closest fit. The person that appears to you to be the most virtuous, holy person in your world and in your life, and start practicing with them that way. You know, start to think of them purely. Start to relate to them purely. Stop seeing them as ordinary. You know, that action, that undertaking, is engaging in a collection of powerful holy karma, which will ripen and bring the result of seeing better and better teachers in your life and in your world. Right? So you have to start somewhere. Right? And the point here is that the first teacher you meet, it doesn't have to be like, they're my teacher, and I give my life to them, and I turn over my mind to them, and I'll do everything they say, even if they tell me to take my clothes off and lie in bed. No, you know, it's not the point. Even if they tell me to give me all their money, even if they tell me to go whatever. No, that's not the point, okay? The point is that whatever teacher you meet, by thinking appropriately towards them, you collect karma. The more pure and virtuous and holy a thought you can have towards anyone, the more karma you're collecting, which will ripen into that valid result. Okay? So pick the best person in your life and spend as much time as you can thinking of them as a pure, holy, virtuous being and speaking to them that way and acting towards them in that way. That is a very deep, heavy, profound practice which will bring quick karmic results. Okay? Meaning, you will start to see more holy people in your life. Okay? And then what must you do? You must treat those people as holy. You must think of them as holy as much as possible. You must speak to them and act towards them as holy as much as possible. Are they holy from their side? No. Nothing exists from its own side. Everything is empty of self-existence. Whatever holiness you perceive, whatever high spiritual qualities you perceive, are a function of your mind and its projections. Okay? We are all training our minds to be pure and clean and holy so that they can project pure, holy things. Okay? Forget about it residing out there in someone else. Anyone you meet out there is a great basis for you to train yourself in how you think and how you act. So pick the best outer basis you've got and start to train yourself to think and speak and act in the highest possible virtuous, holy way that you can. Not because they're holy from their side, but because you understand that you have to collect karma to see holy beings. And that's how you collect karma to see holy beings. So that's all, right? Okay. Let's stop there. Perfect on time. I had to go for 30 seconds more. All right.
Sasi Buddhi Jishin Metal Tram Mira Lingchi Nyinde Badi Sangye Shindu Mite Huargi Drogu Namda Shimla Drupasha Yang Guru Ratna Mandala Kamya Tayami Gawadi Yogu Sunam Yeshe Zok Zokshin Sunam Yeshe Lejun Wei Nomba Kuni Doparsho.
You'll see the holy being at your crown glowing brighter and becomes smaller and smaller to a small orb of light which descends and enters your heart, blessing your mind stream. Oh, by the power of the goodness that we've done here, may we quickly find our perfect holy teacher, thinking purely of them continuously, thereby collecting the karma to perceive all beings everywhere as holy and pure forever. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.